Mr. Walker here, going to show you the roles of the president. Before I begin, I want to let you know you should watch this entire thing. If you're just stopping it and fast forwarding it and filling in blanks, you have learned nothing, and I will guarantee you that will show on the test. So please take your time to do this. And one of the first things before I start the notes is, as you're taking notes, you have some of it filled in, some of you're gonna have to write in, some of you just put in the blank. All right, but this is the important part. Right here it says role, and then colon, right? The semicolon or the colon here. You're gonna put the role of the president that comes in this place. You got to put that there. If you fill in these blanks with words and you do not fill out the role part, you will not know the difference of the different roles of the president. You'll know that they can do that, but you won't know the name that allows them to do that. So you can see it at the front, the bottom of the front page, and then it's along the back page. All right, make sure you fill in the role part. All right, so without further ado, let's do it. All right, so the president's qualifications. They are the only office that needs to be naturally born inside the United States, but you can have parents. You can be born abroad to American parents. Okay. You must be 35 years of age. You must be a resident of the U.S. for 14 years, but not necessarily the 14 years preceding the election. It doesn't have to be in a row, okay? So you have to be naturally born. You have to be an American citizen. Can't be an immigrant who naturalized. The two-term precedent. George Washington set the two-term precedent. He only served 2 terms and he stepped down. Every president after him followed that until this guy. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president who got us through the Great Depression and World War II, he was the first president to win 4 elections, but he dies in the 3rd month of the 4th term, okay? So all presidents serve 2 terms. Now we have made that law with the 22nd Amendment. So the 22nd Amendment said presidents can only have 2 terms. Benefits of being the president: you get a really nice house, ayo, a salary of $425,000 a year. So when you leave 1 term of presidency, you're looking at about $1.7 million. But you're going to be spending a lot as you're moving around. They get an expense account of $50,000, travel expense of $100,000, entertainment account of $19,000. So bring people in, get entertained, throw a party at the White House, right? Retirement of $183,500 per year. So they do get paid pretty hefty every year after they're done with the presidency. They get an awesome plane, Air Force One. They get an awesome place to go relax at called Camp David. Right? They get free medical care while they're president. And of course, they get the best treatment. When Trump was president and he got COVID, he was all given all the great medicines and the top of the line stuff to make sure that he was good. And then you get Secret Service protection while you're president, as well as after you're done. You can choose to have 2 Secret Service people who serve you for the 2 years after you're done. So this is how the president's succession happens. It goes president, VP, Speaker of the House, Senate pro tempore, Secretary of State, and then the remainder of his cabinet or his advisors in the order in which he created them or selected them. All right. There is the president disability situation where we can invoke the 25th Amendment. So invoking the 25th Amendment allows for us to have an acting president, and that would be the vice president. In the event, say, like the president is having surgery and they're under the knife and things, so they need to be knocked out. Well, they can't act as president, so they'll enact the 25th and allow the vice president to fill all the roles of the presidency and handle the presidency at that time. The other way you can invoke the 25th is to remove the president from office. If the vice president and all of his cabinet members vote that the president is unable to conduct the responsibilities of the presidency, then they can have him removed from office and the vice president becomes the president, okay? Generally was supposed to be an insignificant office, but it's taken on more of a larger role as time has gone on. They really chose to have Congress, the framers chose to have Congress to be the main ones with power, okay? The vice presidency, or that's the insignificant office one, they really only preside over the Senate and help determine questions of presidential disability. And currently right now, your vice president is Kamala Harris. All right, so this is the first time you're going to write Chief of Staff next to the role thing at the bottom of your notes, all right? So it says role, Chief of Staff. All right, acts as an example for and symbol of the United States. So when he's the chief of staff, he's acting for and a symbol of the United States. So when will this happen? At special occasions and ceremonies, right? So if like the kings and queens are head of states in other countries, that's what our president acts like. When King George III of England got brought into his kingdomship, the president didn't go, but he might send his like wife, and that she serves as the chief of state. Or if he did go, he would be the chief of state. If he's talking after a national crisis like 9/11, all right, the president gives a speech. He's acting as chief of staff. If the Oklahoma City bombing, President Bill Clinton talked after that and spoke to the nation. That is acting as chief of staff, all right? He's also chief of staff when he awards medals, okay? If he's giving medals to military people or civilians, then he's playing the role of chief of staff as well. He's chief executive is when he acts as boss of the federal government and workers in the 14 executive departments. Chief executive means he's in charge of the executive branch, okay? He is in charge of that. He is allowed to take control of that. So when he's working with his advisors and telling the different departments what to do, he is chief executive, all right? These people, these departments, they help him carry out, enforce, execute the law. That's the main responsibility of the president. Okay, he does get to choose these cabinet members to advise and assist him. So when he chooses these cabinet members to be his advisors and such, then he is chief executive. Okay, so other examples is he's holding these cabinet meetings and he's appointing federal officials. Okay, so that's when he gets to be chief executive too, is appointing these federal officials. That would be your Supreme Court justice, your cabinet members, your other federal judges. All right, so the executive branch, found in the West Wing of the White House. So he gets to be chief executive over that and the other federal buildings of Washington, D.C. He is chief diplomat when he's conducting foreign policy by directing the actions of American ambassadors. All right, so he's telling the American ambassadors to go to France and negotiate this deal, or go to China and get this thing set up, okay? That's playing chief diplomat. Or he himself might be meeting with world leaders. If he himself is meeting with world leaders, then he is chief of staff or chief of diplomat. All right, and then, or if he's signing treaties, trade agreements with other nations, that is chief diplomat. Anytime he's working with leaders of other countries and creating some sort of deal or a treaty, then he is chief diplomat. All right, commander-in-chief, this is the one most students know. The president, believe it or not, without even any military experience, some have experience, some don't, but he is commander-in-chief. That means he is the highest ranking military officer in our military. Okay, he is in charge of the entire U.S. Armed Forces. This nuclear bomb you see down here, none of them get launched without the president's say-so. Okay, so the two that we dropped on Japan to end World War II, that was President Truman authorizing and saying, make that strike. Okay, he's in charge of the military and he can tell them what to do. Now, there are some limits of how long he can put people in combat without congressional approval. But he decides where armed forces are to be stationed, weapons they can use, actions they can take. If someone strikes one of our bases or does a planned attack on us, he can pinpoint certain locations around the world to strike and, only hit these places, or he can choose to invade an entire country. Okay, the Secretary of Defense serves under the president. His Joint Chiefs, those are high-ranking military officers or commanders. Mostly, they're all generals, okay? They report to him as the state of the military, the state of the world, and things that are going on, and he lets them know, and then he kind of makes the decision. He lets them advise him, okay? Chief legislator. So just like we've learned about the legislative branch, they make laws. Well, he's involved in the parts of the law making process. And so when he's chief legislator. So Congress has the power to make the laws, but the president can propose laws. He can tell them, hey, I want a law that says this. He can't write it. That's what Congress and the legislative branch is, but he must sign bills into law, or he can veto them. So if he's signing a bill into law, he is the chief legislator. Or if he's vetoing a law, then he's chief legislator as well. All right. He often can call members of Congress for his lobby to do his agenda. I want to get this done during my presidency. This is what I want to be remembered of. So he's trying to get them to pass laws that will impact those things. All right, and then he presents his agenda to Congress in the annual State of the Union address. Now, the annual State of the Union address wasn't supposed to be an annual thing. The framers just wrote it in the Constitution that from time to time the president will advise the nation as to the State of the Union. But now it's held every year. Okay, the president gets up and he speaks to Congress and tells us about his agenda and what he wants to get done. And here we have President Ronald Reagan holding his State of the Union before a joint session of Congress. And then you always have like the Supreme Court justices are usually sat here in the front. And then your joint chief generals are sat here in the front too. It's pretty cool stuff. He is the political party leader when he helps members of his party get elected or appointed to office. Okay, so you'll see that people are running for presidency, and the Democrats will want Joe Biden to give them his approval or his endorsement. That's the word, the endorsement. Same thing with Republicans. Republicans will find it very easy to win if Donald Trump endorses them over the other Republicans running against them. So when they endorse and help or campaign to get people in their political party get elected, they're political leader. They make these campaign speeches when they need to get reelected, but campaign speeches to get other people reelected. Also, they hold fundraisers. They are the head fundraising part of their party. They're the ones supposed to be bringing in all the money for their party so that they can help campaign and get people elected. So that's political party leader. If he's dealing with the political party leaders or dealing with his party, he's doing the political party leader. And then the last one is economic planner. Okay, the president is the economic planner when he's monitoring unemployment, inflation, taxation, businesses, or the general welfare of the general economic welfare of the nation. The president does not control the economy. He does not. He can try and write laws that create things, or like when we had COVID, he can sign laws that will like help give people stimulus checks, but he does not control the economy. We live in a market economy. The people control it themselves by supply and demand and businesses charging what they want. However, the president is always the blame when things go wrong, but he also gets credit when it goes well. Everyone's like, well, the economy under Trump was pretty stable and consistent. Or Bill Clinton, he left us with a surplus of money. The economy was great. The president doesn't control that, really. They can help do things, or they can set up business deals to make sure that we're trading, we're doing well, but he doesn't control that. And especially gas prices, all right? There are certain things that happen in the world that cause gas prices to go up, but the president isn't in control of your gas prices. But a good example of this economic planner would be FDR during the Great Depression, right? He's making all these executive orders. He's making sure that Congress is creating things that help create jobs, right? Or during World War II, FDR said we're going to ration our food, right? We're going to set a price ceiling on the price of groceries to make sure people aren't paying more. We're going to ration, okay? That's economic planner. That is, having some sort of control, but not really control over the economy and helping it out. All right? And then electing a president, be aware of this as this goes on and we get closer to the election season. The first thing they do is they announce their candidacy pretty early on. Both have already. In the spring, we've had presidential primaries. And that's where each state says they like this person over this person for the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. In the summer, that's when things really heat up. Aha, ba-dum, psh. See what I did there? The summer, they have the national conventions. And at the national convention, the parties pick their nominee for president, or they announce their nominee for president. And the presidential nominee also nominates and reveals who they're going to have run as their running mate for vice president, okay? And then they hit the campaign trail in fall. It's boom, boom, boom. You watch. Soon as August hits, they're off. Okay, they are campaigning hard. And then November, we vote the first Tuesday in November. We do the popular vote. The popular vote then goes, decides, where the electoral votes go. In December, the electoral votes are submitted. And then January 20th, the winner of the Electoral College with 270 electoral votes is inaugurated as the President of the United States. All right? And thank you for listening. You've been